Hello, I'm Christy Nelson, and welcome to another edition of 5 Talk Street. NBC5 is very proud to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. tomorrow at the Elite News Martin Luther King Jr. Day Parade and Festival. And earlier, I spoke to the organizer of the parade. Let's take a look. Daryl Blair is joining me now. He's the publisher of Elite News, and he's here to tell us about plans for the 28th annual Elite News Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day Parade and Festival. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Christy.
Now, why is this such an important event for Dallas?
Well, you know, it's not only an important event for Dallas, it's an important event for our country. But when you speak directly about Dallas, it's the fact that we have an opportunity to come out and celebrate equality. You know, we have an opportunity to come out and recognize all of those things that our forefathers fought for with the Civil Rights Movement and Dr. King, and how what he fought for has come to manifest itself in all of the different cultures and races that come out here and celebrate the parade.
How did it get started?
Well, started by my dad. You know, he wanted to have a parade where just regular old people could get involved. And he started it out, and it became the People's Parade. He used to tell them, just line up down there on the corner of Lamar and Martin Luther King, and we just going to march down the streets. And that's what we did, you know, up until probably about 6-7 years ago. And it has grown to the point that it takes year-round planning and, you know, have people come in and cultivate this thing. It's a major undertaking, and you know, my hat's off to him. I appreciate my dad so much for the work that he has put in this city and the things that he has done in our community. And it's there now. And
this is such a legacy for him to have started this, and it really is considered a thing you go to on that day.
Yes, it is. You know, about 5 years ago, we always get over to the Parade Festival Pavilion real early, 5 in the morning, because we have the breakfast that morning. And having done that, we went down Martin Luther King one time instead of just exiting off by the by the Fair Park. We went down Martin Luther King. 5:30, people are outside setting up, making sure they get a good spot for the parade. It amazed me. And so now every year I make it my business to ride down there and stop and shake people's hands and tell them thank you for coming out and support us, because you know that takes a great deal of discipline to come out 5:30 in the morning for a 10 o'clock parade. Wow.
Definitely. Now we have to point out, of course, that our own Ramisha Shade is the parade marshal. What does the parade marshal do?
Right. Let me show you what they do. Parade marshal rides down the That's all you're doing. You're waving. We're honoring you for the work that you've put into our community and whatnot. And so she's done a diligent work here.
She does.
She's done a diligent work.
So we'll see Ramisha waving and smiling at the crowd.
Yes, she is. Shaking hands and kissing babies. She can run for office probably after this. You know,
now, there is a festival as well.
Yes,
what happens there?
Festival, we have vendors who are there. Matter of fact, it's going to be the Healthcare and Affordable Healthcare Act, where they'll be signing people up there as well. We'll be giving out different shots and different medical screenings. Not only that, we'll have vendors who are there, either they're hawking their wares or they're providing services or telling you of their services. And then we have a bounce house, and we have music that's going to take place from 12 to 6. So it's free. It's free, with the exception of paying for your booth or your vendor's booth. It's free. All you have to do is show up with a sack, because you're going to have a whole lot of take-homes. And
the spirit to really get into the celebration of the day.
Yes, yes. You know, it is a joyous day, and we've been very fortunate given the weather. We're looking to have a 55-degree weather day that Monday, and we've been very fortunate over the years that people have just come out and celebrated, and you know, everything's been good camaraderie.
And you know, something I didn't know until today is that a lot of the proceeds from this event actually go to fund scholarships.
Well, we've partnered with the Urban League. The Urban League's educational initiative, we provide 2 scholarships to them. We provided those 2 last year. We provide 2 this year. And we're also with a company, with a nonprofit agency called Leading by Example. A young man named Doug Grace. He's done a tremendous job, and we're giving a scholarship to a young lady through them. And then we have a number of benevolences throughout the year that we help finance and give money to.
Well, Daryl Blair, quite an undertaking, this annual parade. So much fun, though. It really is. And thanks so much for joining us. I know you're excited about it.
Girl, I'm too excited to get it over with and get it going for the next year. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you for joining us so much.
All right.
It's flu season, of course, and according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Texas Department of State Health Services, the influenza flu virus is widespread here in Texas. 5 Talk Street's Scott Murray recently sat down with a local health professional with words of wisdom on how to prevent getting the flu. Let's take a look.
I'm talking with Dr. Lori Greenberg. She is the Chief Medical Officer of Molina Healthcare of Texas. and she has some important information to help us all about preventing getting the flu. Welcome, first of all.
Thank you.
First thing is wash your hands, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the flu. We've heard so much about it in recent times. Over the last 3-4 weeks, everybody says, uh-oh, I better get a flu shot. I got mine last October. Why do people put off getting the flu shot? What do you think that is?
Well, a lot of people are concerned about getting sick or even getting the flu from the flu shot, and that's actually a misconception.
Can never happen.
It does not happen, no. I mean, it is possible to have a sore arm or to have feel a little bit feverish, but that usually clears in a day or two, and it's much better than actually getting the flu.
That's a myth that you hear all the time,
yes.
Year after year. Oh, I'm not getting that flu shot. I got sick from it last year. Impossible, right?
Yes.
All right, let's talk about symptoms from the flu. What's the difference between that and, say, the common cold?
Well, they have in common that you have cough, runny nose, perhaps a sore throat, but the big difference is fever. A cold usually only has either no fever or low-grade fever, whereas the flu, your temperature is usually 101 or more.
What are some of the things that we might do to prevent getting the flu? And I jokingly said wash our hands, certainly, but I'm a freak about washing my hands. I must do it 20 times a day. How about that, over and above that?
Sure. Well, the most important thing to do is get a flu shot, and it's not too late. Even if you didn't get a flu shot this year, you can still get one. Washing your hands is important. Covering coughs and sneezes is important. And staying home if you're sick. Encouraging others to do the same thing.
What about the situation that evolves when people say, I didn't get the flu shot, and you just said it's never too late? Somebody told me that it actually minimizes your chance, even if you do get it late, if you still go ahead and get it. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, it takes about 2 weeks for it to become active, but you really should go ahead and get it regardless of the timing in the flu season. Now,
one of the things that always surprised me about the flu is that you heard it's this type of flu, it's this type of flu, and you hear a lot today about H1N1. Mm-hmm. That's the swine flu, is that right?
Yes.
And that's the bad one.
Yes, it's a type of, there's influenza A and B, and the H1N1 is an influenza A, and that's what's being seen most commonly in Texas right now. However, the H1N1 is covered in this year's vaccine, so you'll be good if you get the shot.
And unfortunately, every night, it seems, over the course of the last 30 days, we've seen where someone has actually has lost their life due to the flu. Is it because they have some other symptoms along the way, or maybe some underlying problems that were there before the flu, or are these basically healthy people?
Well, there are people that are higher risk for getting serious complications, and that includes people who have a chronic medical illness such as asthma or COPD or diabetes, pregnant women, children under the age of 5, adults over the age of 65 are all groups that are higher risk for having serious complications.
You said under the age of 5, and yet we talked prior, and you said anybody that's 6 months or older should get a flu shot. So that's right, even basically an infant child.
Yes.
Really? Why is that?
Well, the flu shot is not approved under the age of 6 months, but a few years ago the CDC changed its recommendations to include everyone because the flu shot is safe and it's effective, and it is beneficial to anyone over the age of 6 months.
How about those that might not need a flu shot? Let me rephrase that. Might not want to get a flu shot because they might have some allergic reaction. Are there those out there that shouldn't get one?
Well, there are people who've had a serious allergic reaction to eggs need to consult with their physician because there are flu vaccine preparations that can be used, but that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. Of course, children under the age of 6 months should not be immunized. And if you have a moderate to severe illness, it's good to wait until that illness resolves before you get your flu shot.
And very quickly, if you need some information on the flu, where do you go? Website?
The best website is flu.gov, and that's the CDC's website on the flu and contains all kinds of very useful information.
All kinds of great information. Dr. Greenberg, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with more of 5 Talk Street. Stay with us.